Okay. Okay. Doing this for tea. This is, a book I got today, funny enough. It's called Where the Truth Lies by Anna Bailey. And I think the whole synopsis is basically about, so small town kids, and one of them disappears, and there's, a lot of, weird mystery about it. There's, some sus behavior, if you will, and it's this girl trying to find out what really happened to her best friend. Whew. Chapter 1. There's no chapter names, but Chapter 1. The roar of the bonfire is hard to distinguish from the sound of the Trailer Park Boys and the schoolgirls who holler and dance in the shadows of the tall bones. The fuck is the tall Okay, sorry. It is a small town sort of night, the last that Whistling Ridge will see for many years to come, although nobody knows this yet. In the kind of town where coyotes chew on stray cigarette butts and packs of boys go howling at the moon. Okay, Twilight. No, okay. This is not gonna be a serious reading. My bad. Abigail Blake turns to the edge of the trees and smiles at Emma. This will be the memory of Abigail that stays with Emma long after the rest has been drunk away. Long and pale as a moonbeam. Long and pale as a moonbeam. Fly away red hairs curling gently at the damp air. Hands buried deep in her sleeves. This is a very long sentence. Standing on the balls of her feet, like she might take off running at any moment. I'll be fine, she says. Her eyes give her away, darting ahead into the forest. They're not long into September, but fall comes quicker in the mountains, and already the early night has stolen over the pines, their opaque shadows broken only by the beam of a single flashlight. But how are you going to get home? There's a little dent in her brow. Emma thinks. Just the right shape and size for the pad of her thumb. It's as if she has to remember to smile again. I'll call a cab or something. I'll figure it out. Really, it's fine. She looks at the light hovering among the trees, and, behind it, the vague shape of a boy. Emma follows her gaze, but it's too dark to make him out properly. I don't think you should go. Abigail's grin looks so tight it might just hurt. It's just fun, Em. Don't worry about it. Emma does worry about it. She isn't tall like Abigail. Doesn't have the same gap between her thighs like all the teenage girls want. Wow, okay, girl. Anyway. The only thing her father ever gave her was his Latino complexion, and has dodged her all the way through school. She isn't the kind of girl boys ask to go into the woods with them, so what would she know? But still, she shakes her head as she peers into the darkness. I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you here. No. Abigail takes a deep breath and smiles firmly again. She smells of her strawberry chapstick. Come on, Em. Let me live a little, huh? I'll be fine. Promise. Abigail Blake is 17, and like all the girls her age, she believes she's going to live forever. Deep down, Emma believes it too. That is why she leaves her friend there, where the stomped-down grass of the field meets the trees, and sledges back out past the tall bones of her car. What the fuck do you mean, tall bones? It's capitalized too, it's weird. The fire is still crackling away, its light snaking off the surface of the towering, pale rocks. The partygoers cheer as they go smashing beer cans together and hurling them into a fire, cooing with the delight as the flames whoosh higher into the dark. Emma doesn't look back. If she had, she might have seen Abigail hesitate, hand outstretched, as if perhaps, in the end, she hadn't really expected Emma to leave. There is another young man watching her from the other side of the bonfire. He has a wicked sort of gaze, which makes Emma feel as if she's shivering even though she isn't. She's seen him around, lingering on the edge of town since springtime, but she knows him only by sight. A profile sharp enough to cut cocaine, dark hair brushing the collar of his worn-out leather jacket. There's something in the motion of his hips, the way he juts out his chin, that feels like he might have been a highwayman in a previous life. Evening rain has stripped back the heat of the day, and now his cigarette breath hovers in the cool air the way the storm clouds do around mountain peaks. When she looks again, he is gone. Where have you been? Dolly Blake stubs out her cigarette as her eldest son tries to close the front door quietly behind him. Nowhere. Noah emerges from the gloom of the hallway, and for a moment, Dolly tenses, seeing as his lean, lanky shape of that of her husband. From a distance, they are often confused for one another. The same down-and-out plaid shirts, the same flash of red hair, same high-set shoulders, as if they're worried someone might peek over and see something they shouldn't. But although at 22 he is a man now, Noah's face still retains the gentle edges of youth, which his father, Samuel Blake, exchanged a long time ago for a wiry beard and weathered skin from long hours spent hauling timber. Don't make a comment. Dolly breathes a sigh of relief. You're lucky your dad went to bed early, she says. What did you do to your jeans? They're filthy. None of your business. Above him, on the wall, hangs a large gemstone cross that Dolly's mother-in-law gave her as a wedding present, nearly a quarter of a century ago. Behind it, Dolly knows there's a hole where Samuel once punched through the plaster. Don't give me that attitude, young man, she says, but she isn't looking at her son. She's looking at the cross. I don't care how old you are. When you live under this roof, you get yourself home on time and you talk to your mother with more respect. You never give Abby the third degree like this. He steps around her with his long, muddy legs and beats a hard, familiar tattoo up the stairs to his room. Dolly sighs and digs her nails into her scalp. She wishes he weren't the only one she could stand to lose her temper around. But she knows she has to lose it sometimes. Otherwise, one day she might just burst. Emma turns on the car radio. Some late-night psychic says nothing of the events to come, so she drives away from Abigail without a second thought. Puddles on the country road flash yellow in her headlights, and the smell of wet tarmac coming through the air vents reminds her of wax crayons. She knows the route well, even at night. On either side, steep banks are covered with conifers, leading up to the dusty mountain peaks where trees grow stumpy and fade out altogether as they approach the timberline. After a mile, the tree line starts to curve off the road banks. After a mile, the tree line following the curve of the road breaks away. Pine bark beetles have infected the evergreens here, and huge patches of woodland are gray and brittle. In the daylight, through their thin, dead branches, she can glimpse the blackened remains of the old Winslow house, hollowed out by a fire over a century ago. Usually she can look right through the empty windows all the way to the other side, and even though she knows she won't be able to see a thing in the dark, Emma glances at it as she drives by, just out of habit. There's a light. Something glimmers in the old window frame. Emma slows the car, but the light swings suddenly, sharply, and is snuffed out. She will tell the police when they question her, eventually, plundering at all the last precious details she has of Abigail. The bonfire has been tamped down, and the now blackened circle of its remains looks like somewhere a UFO might have come to land. The tall bones are silent silhouettes against the night sky, silvered with moonlight. The partygoers have scattered back down the road toward Jerry Maddox's trailer park, or crammed into their friends' cars and driven home through the woods, so there's no one around to hear the gun when it goes off. Tomorrow is Sunday, and the Blakes cannot yet imagine what they will sit... Ooh, so much talking. Tomorrow is Sunday, and the Blakes cannot yet imagine that they will sit in their usual lonely row of folded plastic chairs at church without Abigail beside them. Tomorrow is Sunday, and Emma is supposed to bleach Abigail's hair for her, because Abigail is tired of being a ginger, even though she knows her parents will say she looks cheap. Tomorrow is Sunday, and Emma lies awake, listening to the coyotes wail and wishing she were one of them. In the morning, she will check her phone, void of any reassurance from Abigail that she made it home safely. Her eyes will return to that box of bleach sitting unopened on the dresser, and somehow, she will know. By the end of the week, Abigail's face will grin emptily from 100 flyers tacked onto telephone poles and church billboards, flapping in the Rocky Mountain breeze. Samuel Blake will go out into the forest with the police department, crying his daughter's name into the trees. Noah will scrub the stains on his jeans until his fingers are raw, and Emma will hide the box of bleach under her bed. Dolly, sucking on her cigarettes, will knead the flaky flesh of her scalp and stare at the big cross hiding the hole in the wall, afraid that, now, all the wrong things will come out. Hold still, Jude. Dolly catches her youngest son by the chin and keeps him in place while she dabs concealer over the bruise around his eye. He winces, but she only shakes her head and grips him tighter, forefinger and thumb pinching deep into the skin. Got no one to blame but yourself. You know what your dad's like if you wake him up early. Samuel won't like the makeup. No boy of mine wears makeup, he'll say. At 62, he's old enough to be a father. At 62, he's old enough to be her father, and often that line seems blurred enough that Dolly will do what he says without question. But today will be different. He won't like the makeup, but he'll like it better than everyone at church staring and whispering behind their Bibles. No wonder the daughter's gone, they'll say. In a house like that, no wonder the daughter's dead. Dead. She heard the word in Safeway the other day, muttered in the frozen food aisle. Mr. One from the liquor store and Carla Patterson, who caught Abigail in her sophomore year, said it softly under the hum of this... Mr. One from the liquor store and Carla Patterson, who caught Abigail in her sophomore year, and Carla Patterson, who taught Abigail in her sophomore year, said it softly under the hum of strip lighting and refrigerators, hoping perhaps that they wouldn't be heard. At least they had good grace to look guilty when they saw Dolly round the corner with her empty shopping cart. She didn't say anything, as she often doesn't, perhaps because she wasn't really sure how it made her feel. Dead. It sounded like the stop at the end of a sentence. She imagined sending a telegram and replacing all the stops with dead. Abigail will be just fine. Dead. Abigail will come back. Dead. By then it had only been a week since her daughter's vanishing, but time felt strange and long to Dolly, as if it had been stretched out like taffy on one of those old machines you sometimes saw in candy store windows. 2 weeks exactly now, and Dolly had gone to the grocery store almost every day, just so that she can rest her weight on the handle of a shopping cart and let it drag her along. Meandering through the aisles gives her something to do. She refuses to be like those women in movies who go stir-crazy sitting at home waiting for a phone to ring. Time keeps going on, and so she thinks. It can't be the end of the sentence yet. In the bathroom, Jude sticks out his bottom lip, an action he has learned from his older brother, although in all other ways, he and Noah are chalk and cheese. The fuck? I've never heard that before. 10 years apart, Jude is slight where Noah is all broad shoulders, dark-haired and unopinionated, and with a tendency toward neatness where his brother has the dirt of the tan embedded in the whorls of his fingers. And then, of course, there's Jude's leg, A shattered bone struck too hard like white-hot metal on a blacksmith's anvil, all bent out of shape. No boy should have to walk with a stick at 12. Dolly applies another layer of concealer on her son's swollen eye socket, but he does not meet his gaze. Poor unplanned Jude. Jude, who she tried to escape by sitting in scorching baths until the water turned cold and dirty, drinking 2/3 a bottle of gin from her husband's liquor cabinet before she threw up. A cruel trick of the Lord's, she thought back then, to bring another child into this house. She still wonders if it wasn't right. There, Dolly says, taking a step back to assess her handiwork. The swelling will take a day or two to go down, but at least she's managed to neutralize the insolent red left by her husband's hand. Do I have to go? Jude leans in closer to the gray-edged mirror, his fingers hovering around his eye, as though he desperately wants to touch the bruise and make sure it's still him underneath. I don't feel like church. Everyone will look at us. Of course they'll look at us, Dolly thinks. The remaining Blakes have spent the last 2 Sundays knocking back can after can of Lone Star, and wandering grocery aisles, or lying in the bed of the middle of the day, listening to rhythmic clicking of the ceiling fan. Dolly doesn't know what Noah's been doing, but she's noticed him looking over his shoulder more than usual. Yesterday, however, Pastor Lewis caught her pretending to read the ingredients on a bag of sliced bread. He announced that the First Baptist Church of Whistling Ridge would be holding a special service this Sunday, so that the congregation could dedicate their prayers to Abigail and the Blake family, and everyone sure would love to see them there. Dolly was taken aback by how easily he could stand there and lie to her face like that, when they both knew exactly what the congregation thinks of her family. But it was not a request, however many times he smiled and patted her on the arm. I read all that in 5 minutes? Damn. I'm only on page 9. Okay, never mind. Where? We can pray or be prayed for, she thinks, and perhaps it is this sense of having to choose between active and passive that makes her so determined to go. She tries to explain this to Jude, but he just chews on his lip and looks sulkily at the floor. Maybe Abby ran away because she didn't want to go to church anymore, he says, his voice so thick with scorn that Dolly feels like she could smack him too. Instead, she turns away and fumbles for a cigarette in her pocket. Her hands itch with the want to break something. So break yourself, not Jude. After all, if anyone's to blame here... Abigail didn't run away, she tells him, and he has to believe her because she is his mother. Abigail would never have just up and left her like this, no matter what the police seem to think. But Dolly's fingers shake as she puts the cigarette to her lips, plugging her mouth from saying any more. If Abigail didn't run away, then what happened to her? She hears it again, and the monosyllabic click of her lighter. Dead. It's all her fault. That's what they're saying at school. The corridors smell like glue and cleaning products, and Emma presses herself deep into the corner of the girls' bathroom, trying to drown out the echo of their voices, knocking back the travel-sized whiskey bottles her mother keeps for trips they never take. Can you believe... Oh no, the pizza's here! Okay, I'll be back. Okay, I lied. The pizza is not here. Oh shit, where was I? Okay. Can you believe Emma Alvarez just left her there? Oh my god, do you think that's why she got taken? She didn't get taken. She ran away with that gypsy boy. She did not. I saw him at the diner last week. Yeah, well, I heard she got eaten by coyotes. I'd never leave my friend to go get eaten by coyotes. Girl, who would? Well, no. Okay. Her mascara turns her tears black, and she rams her knuckles into her mouth so that nobody can hear her sobbing. A week after the party at the Tallbones, Principal Handel holds a special assembly in the gym, where she asks the students of the high school and middle school to keep Abigail in their thoughts and prayers, and to extend their support to her family and friends. Damn, I need more water. Little Jude Blake chews on his lips and sinks into his shirt collar like he hopes nobody will notice him. Emma watches it all, though. Emma watches it all through heavy-lidded, tipsy eyes and thinks, that's it. All two of us here. Abigail's friends and family. Abigail's family and friend. There's no one else who remembers the sight of grass stains on Abby's socks, sitting out on the old couch at the bottom of the Blake's backyard through countless summers, or copying each other's homework and eating candy that turned their tongues blue. No one else heard her say, when she was 13, I'm going to be an artist. Emma had snorted and said, what, in Whistling Ridge? And Abby had told her no way. She was going to catch a bus to Denver and never look back. This had seemed very impressive at the time. Abby was like something from a movie. She looked wide-eyed at Emma then, and added, you'll come with me, won't you? Now Emma downs another tiny bottle in the bathroom and pukes when she gets home. That night Emma dreams of a coyote pack screaming among the trees. She plows through them with her car and their blood gums up her tires. Then she's bleaching Abigail's hair, and while their nostrils sting with the reek of ammonia, they sip on Samuel Blake's bourbon. It burns, it burns, Abigail keeps saying. Or she's mouthing it, or the words just appear in Emma's head. Abby kisses her, spilling blood onto Emma's lips, down from the front of her body, her chest, her arms, her hands. When Emma wakes, it's barely dawn. The mountains are dark and steaming with fresh September rain, and she can smell dried vomit in her nostrils from when she threw up earlier. Wrapping herself in her blanket, she sneaks to the bathroom and washes her hands over and over until they're so cold from the water she can hardly feel them. Melissa must hear the faucet because, wordless, she comes up and puts her arms around her. When Emma finally stops shivering, they shuffle into Melissa's bed, and she strokes Emma's hair until they fall asleep. Mother and daughter curved like some strange rune against the sheets. The next morning, Melissa pours away any remaining alcohol she can find, but they say nothing about it. Emma's grandmother liked to say that people in glass houses should not throw stones, and Emma is aged prematurely by the guilt of marrying a man who could not love her enough to stay, or so she says. Before Abby's disappearance, before the drink, Emma never realized how many decisions she had to make just to get through the day. Am I going to bother having breakfast? Should I drive to school or get the bus? Who should I sit next to at lunch? Who is least likely to look at me like I'm gum on the underside of their desk? But starting the day with a drink means there's only one decision to make. Do I keep drinking? Everything else just sort of falls into place after that. She knows her mother means well, but good intentions won't stop Emma crying in the girls' bathroom. Christmas break is still months away, and she's not sure she can make all the decisions that stretch between then and now. She knows. She knows. It is worse if Abigail is dead. She knows. She knows it is worse if Abigail is dead. But people at school say she ran away, and who could blame her? And that feels like a buck knife in Emma's stomach, tearing a big hole through her guts. Abby wouldn't just leave without saying anything. She wouldn't have caught a bus to Denver and not said a single word about it. You don't run out on a friendship of 10 years like that. You just don't. But then, would it be better if Abigail were dead? In the morning, after her mother leaves for the clinic where she... I keep stumbling. In the morning, after her mother leaves for the clinic where she is, the local GP, Emma doesn't go to school. She goes to Mr. One's liquor store, stuffs a bottle of Jack Daniels inside her coat. She's almost out the door with it when she sees a young man with a leather jacket grinning at her from the parking lot. all brilliant teeth, like he eats knives for breakfast. Stupid boy. Anyways. Where was I? Okay. Something about him looks familiar, and this familiarity seems to take her by the scruff of the neck and tell her to sit up straight, so much so that she loses her grip on the bottle. Mr. Wen has a kind face, crinkled like a paper and lantern, and he tells her he isn't going to press charges this time, although he does make her pay for the broken bottle. He takes it all in, her smudged mascara, her puffy eyes, her bitten down nails, and says he hopes she feels better soon. She knows, without him needing to say anything, that he understands what it's like to be to be different in this country. That thought alone, that sense of fragile solidarity, makes her want to burst into tears all over again, and in the parking lot, she braces herself against her car to steady her gasping breaths. Hey, you okay? When she looks up, the guy with the leather jacket is watching her. With his head cocked to one side, his hair lifting in the wind like feathers, he looks like a big crow. Emma swallows, and tries not to screw up her eyes too much when she nods. No ID. She hates how small her voice sounds, carried by the rumble of the traffic in the main drag. I'll buy it for you, he says, with an accent that sounds faintly Eastern European. You can drink with me. Emma runs a hand through her hair, and the greasy residue it leaves on her fingers makes her feel queasy. In a year's time, college friends would tell her not to accept free drinks from men she doesn't know. Even now, her head rings with folkloric warnings. Nothing is ever free. Everything has a price. But now there is nothing lovelier, she thinks, than light filtered through whiskey brown glass. And if she puts a bottle to her head, she can forget about the feeling of last night's bad dream. She sniffs loudly. Okay, sure. Everything has its price, but she cannot yet imagine the real cost of this one bottle of whiskey. Neither of them can. What? Wait, is that a chapter name? Have I been missing these? Oh no. No, wait, what? The fuck? Okay, hold on. Oh, it's in the past. That's okay. We're good. Oops. Chapter 3. The month before Abigail disappears, Noah and his sister go down to the river. He does not remember having asked Abigail to come with him, but she grabs her big movie star sunglasses and follows him out of the house without a word. They drive through acres of muggy August. Tourists sag into the trees, stopping to catch their breath, while kids roll in grass the color of old man's teeth. Ew. The fuck? Noah's AC is broken, which makes their lungs feel as if they're full of damp wool. But they don't... Man, shut the fuck up, I'm reading. But they don't dare roll down the windows in case the insects get in, and they end up scratching themselves ragged. Abigail sits in silence, her face half obscured by her big sunglasses. Noah can't tell if she's looking at him or not. He chooses a stretch of river outside the town on the south side, which is usually free of tourists because of the steep rock faces obscuring the picturesque views. Brother and sister scramble down to the bank, pine needles poking into their bare feet. Man, why are you in the forest barefoot? Anyways. Low branches whipping at their cheeks, and they still do not speak to one another. The heat feels arrogant, as if it's been here so long it can't imagine being pushed away. Oh, I just fell off the bed. They fall. In the shadows, they lie on their backs fully clothed, like they used to when they were kids, letting the water, still blissfully cold from the mountain springs, slip over their bodies. It's gonna be a project. Hummingbirds, fat with nectar, zip back and forth overhead. From somewhere among the trees come the creaky call of a blue jay. At last, Abigail says, "You would have graduated college this year." No one knows she's looking at him, but he keeps staring at the sky through the branches. "Are you ever gonna forgive us, Noah?" You've grown too used to forgiveness, he wants to say. He is not God. He is not obliged to forgive her just because she's asked. Instead, he tells her, you'll be off to college yourself next year. Then you won't care what I think. You'll make new friends, see new places, forget I was ever mad at you at all. She's quiet for a moment, but he can guess what she's thinking. I won't make new friends. We won't make new friends. Oh, we don't make new friends. When she speaks again, it sounds as if she's on the brink of laughing. Another year? I think I'll go crazy if I have to wait another year. It's not a good sort of laughter. Noah shivers, and he knows it isn't the chill of the river. No, she says. Of course you're still mad. I'd lose it if you cost me my one chance of getting out of here. I'd bash your head in. Noah sighs. What do you want from me, Abby? I just want you to do something. You haven't even mentioned it in 4 years, and I can't stand it anymore. If you're not going to forgive me, then maybe you should just bash my head in. Abby. She stands up. Her summer dress is heavy with water and clings to the outline of her body. Noah has avoided her for so long, he hasn't noticed that his little sister has become a woman. Don't get weird about this, don't get weird. He looks away quickly and she laughs. Oh my god, he's getting weird. Oh no, okay. I'm the only woman you've ever really seen, aren't I? Poor Noah. He sits up too fast and water slides off his chest like something solid. It reminds him of his baptism when Pastor Lewis dunked him in the tank. Abigail sneezes. Abigail sneers. Poor Noah. Couldn't get Chrissy Dukes to go to first base with you. Couldn't get Sabrina MacArthur to put out. Couldn't even get Aaron Broadstreet to hold your hand in the nativity play. Shut up. She kicks water in his face. That's right, let it out. Several birds take off in the trees, startled from their voices, their wings beating like fleeing footsteps. There's something wrong with you, isn't there? Noah's hair drips over his eyes, and he can't see her, but he itches to cut that sneer out of her voice. You'd never have gone to college anyways, because you know there's something wrong with you. I remember, Noah. That's why you don't have any friends. That's why you can't keep a girlfriend. That's why Mom and Dad don't love you. Shut up! He lunges at her blindly, knocking his cheekbone against her elbow, but the sudden pain feels good. They fall back into the water with a crash, and she struggles against him, but he's taller than her, stronger than her, and he holds her down. This is getting weird. The second pass. The river bubbles over Abigail, as though she were just another stone on its bed. It's the soothing noise that helps him steady his breathing again, helping him realize what he's done. He's holding her down by the shoulders, holding her head under water. She's staring straight up at him, and her mouth is curled in the barest trace of a smile, but she doesn't move or blink. For the briefest moment, Noah thinks she might be dead, and his mind races away to the future, in which his shoes take up all the space in the hallway, and his college degrees hang on the wall instead of her dried macaroni art. Their mom says goodbye to him first, and their dad has no choice but to hold his hand while they pray before dinner. It's his day they ask about, his Steinbeck and Vonnegut strewn across the couch instead of Abby's magazines. His hair in the plug hole. Of course, Noah knows deep down that our absence will change none of those things, and the space that their parents have made for her do not have for their sons will quickly be filled with grief, and he would fade into the background once again. He knows this and lets it go. His hands poised in the air as if in surrender. What? And lets go. His hands poised in the air as if in surrender, as if he'd been expecting to be caught. But then she sits up and paws water from her eyes, taking huge breaths and her whole body that make her whole body shudder, and relief floods through him. She looks at him, and he looks at her, and he understands. She's the only thing holding them all together. On the way home, they do not speak. They do not speak of that day ever again. just sit making little puddles on the floor of Noah's truck as their bodies drip with baptismal waters. Oh, I'm so tired. Okay, and then it skips to present tense. The First Baptist Church of Whistling Ridge looks like a recreational center with a white fiberglass steeple tacked on the top. No one knows this is how most churches look around here, but he also knows that on the East Coast there are huge Gothic-style churches built from heavy stones, as grand as God himself. God should be made of stone if he's made of anything, Noah thinks. In this country, he is made of styrofoam, smells like tarmac, and tastes like fries. What the fuck? God is a truck stop. It's a truck stop or a billboard. There would be no point in making him out of stone, because stone is made to last. God is always being reshaped to fit. As the Blakes pull into the church parking lot, they pass a big LED board out front where the schedule of worship is written, like a special deal at a drive-thru. Noah leans against the car and stares at the wonky black letters, while behind him, his mother helps Jude out of the back seat, and his father spits in the grass. Casual worship, 9-11 a.m. every Sunday. Has anyone else died for your sins? Noah wonders. There are more cars now, and people emptying out of them take their time pouring long gazes over the Blake family. There is Samuel, a scarecrow G.I. Joe, with shadows of the Vietnam jungle in his gray eyes and hunched shoulders. There is Dolly, with her split ends and nicotine-stained fingers, the heels on her best shoes worn down unevenly, so she seems to lean like a tree that's been pulled by the wind. There is Noah, all denim and corduroy, who could be Marlon Brando handsome, if not for his chapped lips and crooked nose. The same haunted look as his father. There's little Jude, with his old man's walk, his hand-me-down flannel sleeves that hide so many secrets. But where's Abigail? That's what everyone wants to know, and they stare harder at the Blakes as they file past, hoping perhaps to bore right through them to the truth. Noah knows that's why most of them lingered out here. They buzz in the parking lot, shaking each other's hands or embracing, sticking to the concrete like many flies. They exist in this strange purgatory, where depression feels not so long ago, yet the present seems oddly far away. His sister's disappearance is just fresh roadkill to them. The sudden howl of a motorcycle shreds through the idleness of the crowd. Noah tenses and shoves his hands inside his pockets. Across the street, in the Dairy Queen parking lot, how the fuck am I supposed to pronounce that? Rat Lacusta, takes off his helmet and shakes out his wild black hair. Okay, yeah. He moves like a hooker whose rent is due, and he doesn't seem to care about the way his jacket rides up as he leans over his bike. There's something primal in the reaction to that strip of exposed skin. Teenage girl in their Sunday's best bite their lips and glance at their mothers, who dare to watch the boy because they know it will get their husbands all riled up. Even Dolly can't help cocking her head to one side and saying, "Molasses is slow." Isn't that the young man from the trailer park? The gypsy? He's Romanian, not Romani. Noah busies himself scraping dry mud off the edge of his best shoes against the curb. He just happens to live in an RV. And you shouldn't say gypsy, Jude pipes up. It's a slur. Samuel snorts. Give me strength, boy. He elbows Jude, who wobbles slightly under the contact. This generation, eh? Honestly. Dolly narrows her eyes at her husband as if to say, not in public. Samuel just smiles and delivers a short, sharp kick to the back of her ankles. Noah sees his mother stumble, watching the pink shame rising on her cheeks as she scans the church parking lot, afraid that someone will have noticed. But the truth is that, for just the moment, everyone has forgotten about the Blake family. At least the Blakes are of this town, of this church, and of the faith. Rat, with his tight jeans and smooth dark laterals of his unfamiliar accent, is a stranger. He is a bullet that has entered the town and not yet left an exit wound. People still have to decide where he fits, or how they will shape themselves around him, or if they'll do so at all. Noah is vaguely aware of his father saying, "Come on, we're going in." But he's still staring across the street. He feels as if he's been doused in gasoline and he's shivering from it. The kind of shivers that make your spine arch and curl and your toes curl. Rat props a cigarette between his lips and grins at him, like they both know some private thing that nobody else knows.